Welcome back to another video, and today we got our Week 12 College Basketball Power 40 rankings, and we're typically doing these every single Monday, but this week had to push everything back a little bit. But I think we are still going to get 4 videos out a week. So yeah, we're doing 4 videos a week, typically every week. College basketball, college football, NFL, and NBA every single day, Monday through Thursday. Now this week it's probably going to be Tuesday through Friday, but that's all right. We didn't really have much college basketball on Monday anyway, so it's not going to affect the rankings at all. But yeah, if you're new around here, make sure you subscribe. We're trying to hit 200 by the end of the month. We're cutting it a little close. I think we could do it. But yeah, if you could just subscribe, that'd be greatly appreciated. Turn on the noties if you are interested in any of our content. We also do MLB when that season is going. And we are also trying to hit 1,000 by the end of the year, so that would be very exciting. If you could help us work towards that goal, it would be greatly appreciated. But getting on right into the top 40 and starting off with number 40, I'm going to have UCLA moving down 9. I'm going to keep them in the rankings. I don't love keeping them in. I mean, they have been just free falling. I believe they've lost, what, like 4, 5 in a row. They did get a win to kind of stop their skid this past week against Iowa. But this week they play Wisconsin at home actually tonight. That's a huge game. If they can win that game, they'll get back in the mix. But as of right now at 12-6, I'm not loving where they stand. They are still ranked 31st in KenPom. The defense is really carrying their team right now. If the offense can, get it together, they'd be a lot more successful. But yeah, 12-6. Don't love having them in, but a lot of teams lost. I believe the stat was 19 of the AP top 25 lost this week. Yeah, just crazy stuff. We got a lot to talk about. Number 39 actually is going to be Wake Forest, new to the rankings, jumping in. We had a lot of teams here on the edge lose a lot, so you're going to have a couple new teams in the rankings here, and Wake Forest is going to be the first, I guess you could say, of the new teams. I believe they only have 4 losses right now. They're playing really good. They've won a whole lot of games in a row. They're very low in KenPom. The offense really struggles, but their defense makes up for it. They're ranked 31st in defense. I was actually very high on Wake Forest coming into the year. I kind of cooled off of them, but they're 14-4. They got a huge week this week. They got UNC coming to town, and then also Duke, both home games. They also play at Louisville next week. This is a crucial, actually, and then they play Pitt at home. That is a crucial 4-game stretch over the next 2 weeks. If they can go 2-2 in that stretch, I mean 1-3 even wouldn't be end all be all, but I mean if they can go 2-2 there, that'd be great for them. But yeah, they have a very tough week against UNC and Duke this week, and then like I said, Louisville and Pitt the following week. Those are probably 4 of the top 6 teams, not including Wake and Clemson, in the ACC. So huge week here. We'll see if they can continue their dominant win streak they're on right now. St. Mary's, new to the poll. Right now, I believe, I don't want to be mistaken here, I believe St. Mary's is 16-3. Yes, 16-3. Wow, just a great season so far. And by the way, their only losses, let's take a look at this. They have wins over Nebraska. They have wins over USC, 2 Big Ten teams, solid wins. Their only losses are to Arizona State by 4, Boise State by 2 in overtime, and Utah State, who is ranked ahead of them. Um, they have dominated the conference right now. They're undefeated in West Coast Conference play. Taking a look where they're at KenPom, I'm very interested to see this because I haven't taken a look at this yet. St. Mary's right now ranked 27th in KenPom. Very high, 38th in offense, 29th in defense. St. Mary's is looking really strong. You could argue they should be higher at 16-3. I wouldn't blame you. I just didn't want to jump them way up with them not even being ranked last week. So I think they will slowly but surely climb their way up if they keep playing this well. Creighton at 37. So starting off where they're at KenPom, they're actually ranked exactly at 37. So good on me. 48th in offense, 44th in defense. So, very well-rounded team. And Creighton has kind of been disappointing this year. Creighton's always one of those teams that is going to be good, is going to get in the tournament. And they really started off the season pretty rough. They're 12-6 right now. it's not what you want to see, especially with having the talent on their roster that they do. I know Pop Isaacs did suffer the injury. Now he's out for the year. They still got Kalkbrenner. They still got Stephen Ashworth. Those are two 17 points, scorers. But this past week they did beat Butler and Providence. That's also them coming off a win at UConn the previous. They did just beat at UConn this week. That was a huge win for them. That really just bumped them back into probably tournament contention as of right now. I think they would be in. They're ranked inside the Power 40. Yeah, good on Creighton for getting themselves back into the Power 40. Number 36 is going to be Oklahoma. They just continue to fall, man. It seems like they just can't catch a break. They've lost, what is it, 4 of their last 5. They were on a 4-game losing streak till they beat South Carolina, but I mean, yeah, you beat South Carolina, you know what I mean? So, I know there are a lot of teams that beat them are solid teams. I mean, you could argue Texas should be ranked in here. They're probably 41. They're right there. Um, I don't know. I don't know what to do with Oklahoma. I mean, if they continue to lose, they're eventually going to fall out. I mean, they've been falling dramatically. They were all the way up at, I believe, like 11 or 12. So, yeah, they're down here. They're struggling in SEC play. Definitely worried for them. Cincinnati's going to move up 3. This is just mostly because, a lot of teams ahead of them lost. Cincinnati didn't really do anything, crazy to necessarily deserve this bump. They beat Colorado and Arizona State. They played Texas Tech tonight, though, at home. If they can win that game, that'll be huge because Texas Tech is playing great ball right now. And, yeah, I am very worried with Cincinnati still. I was never, huge on them when they were getting all the way up inside, like, the top 15. But, yeah, I still got them ranked inside the Power 40. Number 34 is going to be Vanderbilt. Who would have thought this? Vanderbilt was the team that I picked to go last in the SEC in my SEC preseason predictions. They go out this week and beat Tennessee by 1 point. Now they're sitting at 15-3. Ridiculous stuff. Their only losses are to Mississippi State, who is ranked very highly, Missouri, who is getting a huge bump right now, and Drake, who is one of the best group of 5 teams, maybe the best. I mean, there is, Gonzaga, Memphis, so probably not the best, St. Mary's, but Drake is 16-2. So Vanderbilt, now with the win over Tennessee, if they go, I mean, I'm not going to suggest anything. This week they play at Alabama and home against Kentucky. If they go out, they don't even need to win both these games. If they go out and play good in both these games, their tournament hopes are skyrocketing right now. They're ranked 49th in KenPom, so not even that low. 40th in offense, 69th in defense. Good on Vanderbilt. Never would have thought they'd be inside the Power 40 almost at the end of January. Maryland's going to move down 3. They're still very solid in KenPom. 23rd overall, 14-5, 31st in offense, 26th in defense. So, very well rounded, obviously. They did lose though at Northwestern. They responded with a win home against Nebraska. They got a huge game at Illinois coming up, and they also play at Indiana. So if they can split this week, I think they're in good shape. But I am still pretty high on the Terps. They look pretty solid. I'll keep them where keep them here in this mid-30 range. Baylor moving down 8 spots. Baylor's not trending in the right direction. They went 0-2 on the week against, not very good teams. They played at Arizona. I guess Arizona's pretty solid. But then home against TCU. I don't know how they lost that one. That was concerning. Baylor's defense is definitely a problem. Their offense is top 20 in the country. Their defense is barely top 60. So if they want to be a real contender in the Big 12, they got to figure something out defensively. I mean, you can't be losing to TCU at home, especially when you're a team that is with as high hopes as Baylor does. I mean, they have Norchad Omier, VJ Edgecombe, Jeremy Roach. I mean, they have a good team. I don't know what's going on with Baylor. I really couldn't tell you. I mean, they're just so inconsistent. It's crazy. Number 31. I think this is the biggest faller of the week. Gonzaga moving down 14 spots after going 0-2 this week against Oregon State and Santa Clara, one of them being at home. That is just unacceptable. They're now 14-6. I think they'll still get in the tournament just because their non-conference was pretty strong. But man, I mean, this defense is just. They're ranked 59th in defense, all the way up at 6th in offense. But, with Gonzaga, I mean, being ranked 14th in KenPom, having 6 losses already, that's just something you can't have. I mean, I know Mark Few, he's been, what is it, like an insane amount of Sweet 16s in a row. I don't know the exact number. It's like 8 or 9 or maybe even more. Um, but I mean, yeah, you just can't have this if you're Gonzaga. I mean, you're one of the new blue bloods, I guess you would call it, and they are struggling this year. Definitely a down year for the Zags. Um, I don't know what's the answer. I really don't. Graham Ike's doing good. He's averaging 17 points a game. Um, they're just not winning. And maybe it's the roster, but I mean the roster's not even bad. I don't know. I mean Gonzaga is another one of these inconsistent teams, kind of similar with Baylor. Number 30 gonna be Clemson moving up 4. They kind of make this somewhat of a jump just because other teams ahead of them lost. They did beat Pitt on the road this week in overtime, so I'll give them that. That was a pretty good win. Number 29 going to be Utah State. Utah State lost, I believe, their second loss of the season, so they are going to have to drop a little bit, but they're still 16-2, still first in the Mount. Actually, they're not first in the Mountain West. That title goes to New Mexico, but they are second right now. New Mexico is another team just outside the top 40. But yeah, Utah State lost at UNLV. You just can't have that, so they're going to have to drop a little bit. Number 28 is going to be Arizona. Moving down 1. They did lose, I believe. They lost. Yeah, they got blown out at Texas Tech. But earlier in the week, they beat Baylor, so I didn't. I dropped them down 1, but I think that's fair. I try to keep them kind of similar to where they're at. This week they play at Oklahoma State and home against Colorado. They should pretty easily win both those games. They're actually ranked top 20 in both offense and defense, 16th overall in KenPom. Um, Only team with as many losses as them is Gonzaga, just right in the same range. And then the next closest team is Baylor, all the way down at 24. But yeah, 16th in KenPom. Very solid numbers. I think Arizona is definitely going in the right direction with Caleb Love. Looks like they're starting to figure things out after their somewhat of a skid early in the season. 27, I have Georgia moving down 4. Now, Georgia impressed me a lot this week. They do move down 4, yes, but they played at Tennessee. They did get blown out by 18 points. Then they played Auburn at home and lost by 2 points. I said if Georgia, I said I didn't expect Georgia to win either of these games. If they can split, I would be over the moon with Georgia. But if they can play either of these games close or one of these games close, I would still feel pretty confident. And that's exactly what they did. Georgia's had a great January. They beat Kentucky. They beat Oklahoma. They do have that loss at Ole Miss, loss at Tennessee, loss against Auburn. But those are all elite teams. This week they play at Arkansas and at Florida again. If they can just split both those games, I feel very good with Georgia right now. They are looking like a pretty dangerous team, if I do say so myself. They're that game against Auburn, they looked really strong. They're 14-4. If you're 14-4 in the SEC, that's an accomplishment with how good their league is, and Georgia's defense is looking ridiculous. They're top 15 in KenPom right now. Number 26 is going to be Memphis. I've been saying all this talk how Memphis might not lose a league game, and this just goes to show how hard it is to go undefeated in conference. Same thing with Gonzaga. They're 14-4. I mean, I'm not too worried. They have a crazy non-conference resume where they can afford to lose even a couple games in American play. They did lose at Temple, but I think they're going to be okay. Memphis has a very good team. PJ Haggerty's averaging 22 points a game. Tyrese Hunter, Dane Danger, Colby Rogers. Um, I mean, this is a really good team. Yeah, if you're Memphis, I'm not worried. They're ranked 38th in KenPom right now, 52nd in offense, 41st in defense. I wouldn't be worried about Memphis right now. Yes, they lost to Temple. Not a great loss. They did drop quite a bit, but again, it's very hard to go undefeated in league play. Moving on into our top 25, we're gonna kick things off with Louisville moving up 7 spots. Louisville is one of the highest climbers. They continue to climb because they continue to cruise in ACC play. This week they got at SMU. That's going to be a tough game, actually tonight. So we'll see how they do. But as of right now, 7-1 in the ACC. And yeah, the Chucky Hepburn averaging 15 points a game. This is a very good team. They're ranked 29th in KenPom, 32nd in offense, 43rd in defense. Uh, Actually ranked ahead of teams like UConn, UCLA, North Carolina. I mean, those are some names right there. And the fact that Louisville went from one of the worst teams in college basketball the past couple of years to inside of the top 25 near the end of January just goes to show. I mean, shout out to the coaches over there. I mean, that is a great job what they're doing. And Louisville, in my opinion, right now, is the second best team in the ACC. I think that's fair to say. They just beat Clemson and Pitt. Um, and I think they're the best. I mean, they're gonna have a chance to next week. They play Wake Forest, so that's another one of those contenders, I guess you could say. But Louisville right now, in my opinion, is playing like the second best team in the conference. Number 24 is going to be UConn, continuing to fall. This team, I don't I don't know. I mean, this team is they're it's getting bad. They're struggling in conference play. Now they lose to Creighton at home. You don't lose at home if you're UConn. They're 13-5 now. This week they play home against Butler and then at Xavier. I would assume they would win both those games, but with the way that this defense is playing, it's almost like it continues to get worse, and the offense is going in the wrong direction as well. They're now ranked 7th in offense, which is still very, very good, but 128th in defense. I mean, the defense continues to get lower and lower. Um, Alex Caravan's having a good season, but I mean, this defense is just not good enough. When you're UConn, when you're the back-to-back defending national champ, you're supposed to be, you're supposed to. I know they've lost pretty much everyone, and I get that. I understand it, but they're going in the wrong direction. They continue to fall. They just continue to struggle in Big East play. They're losing games. They lost to Villanova. I mean, it's not looking good. This defense is very concerning. I don't think UConn's poised for a very deep run in March. I do expect them to make it, but the defense is just not good enough. Missouri moving up 12 spots. Huge climb for Missouri. They went out on Tuesday into Florida and beat them. They beat them by 1 point. Then they went out on Saturday and beat Arkansas at home. I said if they could split that week, I would be very surprised. They went out and won both those games. Crazy stuff. Now they play at Texas and home against Ole Miss on Saturday. Again, I'm going to say the same thing. If they can split those games, I think they're in a very good spot. If they win both those games, oh man, we're going to have to start having real conversations about Missouri. Mark Mitchell still leading the charge there for them. They're ranked 28th in KenPom, 18th in offense, 61st in defense. This is a very good team. They're 4-1 in SEC play right now, ahead of teams like Kentucky, Mississippi State, Florida, Tennessee, Texas A&M, Georgia. I mean, that's a great list to be ahead. Tied with Ole Miss and Alabama, and then a game back of Auburn. Missouri's in a great spot right now. Good for the Tigers. They're moving up 12. West Virginia moving up 6 spots. They continue to rise as well, kind of similar with Louisville. Um, they went out and beat Iowa State this week. They did lose at Houston. They got blown out against Houston, but they beat Iowa State. I mean, I said if they could split that week, that would be phenomenal. I didn't expect them. I expected them to lose both those games, but I said if they could keep it close, that'd be great. They split the week. Good for them. This week they play home against Arizona State and at Kansas State. I think they should honestly win both those games. Looking where they're at KenPom right now, 36th overall, 79th in offense, 19th in defense. This is kind of the typical West Virginia team. Oh, and by the way, against Iowa State, they didn't even have Tucker DeVries. So that is just a huge testament to Darren DeVries. Their best player continues to be hurt. I mean, it is great what the Mountaineers are doing right now. Moving on, though, to number 21, I'm going to have Michigan here moving down 1 spot. Now, I know they lost to Minnesota this week, which is a pretty bad loss. Minnesota is one of the bottom, maybe the worst team in the Big Ten this year. So, yes, that is a very rough loss. But you got to understand, so many ranked teams lost this week. It was hard for me to jump a lot of teams around. I'm still very high in Michigan. I know they're very inconsistent, and it pains me to say it as an Ohio State fan. Although, we just won the national championship, so, hey, I'm on cloud 9 right now, but that's besides the point. Michigan's ranked 11th in KenPom right now, 14-4. 14th in offense, 25th in defense. Those numbers are just amazing. They've got a really good team this year. Vlad Golden, Danny Wolf. This team is... This is a really good team. Roddy Gale Jr. is looking really solid. Trey Donaldson. They got 5 guys averaging over 10 points a game. This is a really good team. So, yeah, I know they've been a little inconsistent, but if they can sort that out a little bit. Keep in mind, this is Dusty May's first year here. Michigan's in a really good spot right now. I got them at 21. Number 20, Texas Tech. They're playing... I don't know how they aren't ranked in the AP poll. I mean, they're playing out of their mind right now. I mean, since Big 12 play has started, they should have beat Iowa State. They lost by 1 point in overtime to the number 3 team in the country. When you're doing that, I give you the pass there. They beat Kansas State and Arizona in dominant fashion against Arizona this week. Texas Tech is rolling right now. They're 4-2 in the Big 12. One of those losses is by 1 point to Iowa State. Now, tonight they have a pretty tough game at Cincinnati. We'll see how they look there, but as of right now, JT Toppin is leading the way, 16.6 points per game. Texas Tech is cruising. They're very high in KenPom as well, ranked 12th right now, 9th in offense, 37th in defense. This is a team that I could very well see, making a run in March. This is a really good team. I got them all the way up at 20, much higher than you'll see anywhere else, I'm assuming. But I'm very high in Texas Tech right now. Number 19 is going to be St. John's, taking a huge jump as well. St. John's is kind of one of those teams that really benefited from a lot of these teams in this range losing. They're taking care of business. They're 16-3 right now. I feel like they're flying under the radar. They're first in the Big East, ahead of Marquette, ahead of Creighton, ahead of UConn. Rick Pitino has got his team in a great spot. By the way, they're ranked 19th in KenPom. One of the best teams in terms of efficiency right now. 54th in offense, but 5th in defense. And defense is always more important come March Madness. So St. John's moving in a very good direction. They're looking really strong right now. Number 18, going to be Wisconsin. A lot of these teams just, winning their games, and they're benefiting from it because a lot of these teams ahead of them, like I said, lost. Wisconsin just narrowly escapes Ohio State, who feels like in basketball just are always in close games and always find a way to lose. It's really annoying to watch as an Ohio State fan. But hey, like I said, Ohio State just won it all in football. We're a football school first, so again, very excited about that. We'll see if they can make March Madness. I'm not sure if they will, but hey. But anyways, Wisconsin then took care of business against USC. Tonight they have a very important game at UCLA. UCLA is favored by 3.5. We'll see what Wisconsin can do. Right now, they're 15-3. They're ranked 21st in KenPom, 11th in offense, 46th in defense. Wisconsin's looking very strong. I got them at 18. They're playing really good. Only 3 losses. That's pretty impressive so far. Illinois is going to move down one. With Illinois, yes, they have 5 losses, but you look at, I mean, they're a 5-loss team ahead of, in terms of KenPom at least. They're ranked 9th in KenPom right now, by the way. They're a 5-loss team ahead of Purdue, Michigan, Texas Tech, Michigan State, Gonzaga, Marquette, Arizona, Ole Miss, Texas A&M, Kentucky, um, Oregon, who I have ahead of them. I mean, there's a lot of teams I have ahead of Illinois that Illinois is ahead of in KenPom. Illinois ranks 19th in offense, 10th in defense. When you look for a national champion, you typically look. Historically, they have to be top 20 in both offense and defense. Now, am I saying Illinois is going to win it all? No, but they do fit the criteria. Kaspers Yakichonis, if he stays in that game against Michigan State, doesn't foul out, they probably win that game. They lost by 2 on the road against Michigan State. If you're going to lose a game, that's how you do it. Keep in mind, earlier in that week, they went at Indiana, who I think I might have had inside of the Power 40 last week. They won by 25 points on the road. That's never easy to do against any team in conference. This week they have a home game against Maryland and a home game against Northwestern. I do expect them to win both those games. That Maryland game may be a little tough, but I think Illinois is much better than Maryland right now. I mean, this is a really good team. Colin Boswell, Kaspers Yakichonis, Ivizic, I think that's how you say it. I always mess up his name. Will Riley. This is a really strong Illinois team. Good on Brad Underwood for continuing to just put out amazing Illinois teams. Number 16, Ole Miss, going to move up 5 spots. Now, I think they did actually lose this week, so it's kind of weird to see them move up. But keep in mind, they went on the road against Alabama and won by 10 points. They looked really good in that game. They there was never a question. They were leading that entire game. Then Saturday, they went to their rivals, Mississippi State. They lost in overtime by 3. It's a rivalry game. It's on the road. It's against a top 15 team, and they lost by 3 in overtime. I mean, you know what I'm saying. So that's not, I'm not worried that they lost that game. And I mean, especially when earlier in the week they went on the road against Alabama and really dominated them. Now this week they have a pretty tough week. Home against A&M on Wednesday, and then at Missouri on Saturday. I'm going to say the same thing I always do. If they can split this week, I feel like they're in a really good spot, and they are in a very good spot. 15-3 right now in conference. They're tied for second right now. Ole Miss is looking really strong. They're ranked 17th in KenPom, 27th in offense, 13th in defense. Ole Miss, definitely a tournament team, potentially even top 4 or 5 seed. I didn't expect that coming into the year, but hey, here we are. Ole Miss is looking really strong. Number 15, I'm gonna have Oregon move down 2 spots. I don't know what to think about Oregon. I'm starting to lose faith in Oregon. They have 3 home losses this year. That's never a good thing. And it's weird because they only have 3 losses on the year, but they're 4-3 right now in conference play. Purdue went in there and dominated them. I mean, they won by 7 points. I don't want to say dominated. Oregon was winning at halftime, but in the second half, Purdue was leading the entire way. Yeah, I don't know what to think about Oregon. It's hard for me to figure this team out. They're 25th in KenPom, 29th in offense, 30th in defense. I think they're a good team. Don't get me wrong, but are they like one of the elite teams in the Big Ten? Honestly, I'd say Michigan State's playing better than them right now. I'd say Purdue clearly is. They just beat them. You could argue Illinois, Michigan, Wisconsin are all even playing better than them. I'm a little worried about this Oregon team. I know they're 15-3. I shouldn't be saying this. They still got Jackson Shelstead, who is a very good player, TJ Baum, but they got some guys. I just worry a little bit. This week, home against Washington and at Minnesota, they should cruise this week, no problems. If they lose, then they're going to be dropping quite a bit. But I mean, yeah, you could argue Ole Miss, Illinois, Wisconsin, St. John's, even Texas Tech and Michigan deserve to be ahead of Oregon right now. I feel like with 3 losses, they deserve to be here. Number 14, I got Mississippi State. They looked pretty good this week. Like I said just a little bit ago, they did beat Ole Miss in the rivalry game at home. That was a really good win. Earlier in the week, they did get dominated by Auburn. They lost by 22 points on the road, but hey, it's the number 1 team in the country on the road. I wasn't expecting them to go out and win. I was expecting them to keep it a little bit closer, but tonight they play at Tennessee. Now, if they lose this game, I'm not going to go, say, oh, Mississippi State, they're frauds. Obviously, I'm not expecting them to win this game. But if they go out and win this game, Mississippi State might be a top 10 team in the country next Monday. Mississippi State right now ranks as the 22nd team overall in KenPom, 16th in offense, 45th in defense. And you know what else? I mean, this is crazy. Mississippi State, all the way up at 14, is not even inside of the top 5 teams, at least ranking-wise, in the SEC. That is just insane. And you got Ole Miss right behind them. You got Missouri trailing them as well. You got teams like Vanderbilt, Georgia, Texas, Oklahoma, Arkansas, all, in the mix as well. I mean, the SEC is just ridiculous this year. But yeah, props to Ole Miss. They're playing really good right now. 13th, I have A&M dropping down 3 spots after losing at Kentucky. They got a rebound win against LSU, but hey, they to be fair, going into Rupp Arena, that's not an easy task. I didn't expect them to win. I thought Kentucky would win. They did lose by 12. They didn't look too good in that game. I still believe in this Texas A&M team. Wade Taylor's doing a great job. He's actually not even the leading scorer on their team, which is surprising to me. It's actually Zurich Phelps. I think that's how you pronounce his name. Sorry if I butchered that. But yeah, he's actually their leading scorer. Now they're right there with each other. This team, Texas A&M, the defense, Buzz Williams, he's got a great defense. They're ranked 11th right now, 39th in offense. This Texas A&M team, very experienced. I like their odds come March. This is a really good team. I know they dropped and they lost, but hey, I mean, like I said, at Kentucky, that's not an easy win whatsoever. I didn't expect them to win. But they're at 13. Number 12, Kansas, dropping down 3 spots. I don't know what to think. There's still some of these teams. It's crazy. College basketball is a crazy sport. I think we're closer to March Madness than we are to the start of the season. And I still haven't figured out some of these teams. Kansas is one of them. They got blown out against Iowa State. They lost by almost 20 points. I mean, they look good against teams that aren't great. I mean, okay, on Saturday they play home against Houston. That's going to be a huge game. That's going to show me a lot. I'm definitely going to be tuned into that game because I need to see more from both of these teams, Houston and Kansas. I feel like I haven't really sat down and watched a Kansas game since, their non-conference game. So it's going to be good to see. I know Hunter Dickinson, Zeke Mayo, DeJuan Harris, KJ Adams, all those guys are doing solid over there, as expected. But honestly, I mean, I feel like their offense is, so in KenPom, they're ranked 34th in offense. I was about to say, I feel like their offense is kind of holding them back, and, they're ranked 4th in defense right now, so my suspicions were correct, I guess you could say. If they can figure something out on the offense, maybe get some more of these guys, because they have a very deep team. Maybe I don't know. I was gonna say maybe that's their demise. I don't know, because Zeke Mayo is looking really good for them. Hunter Dickinson as well, but besides those guys, nobody else is averaging over 10 points a game. So maybe you got to get some other guys some more touches more. That's what I was going to say, because they have a very deep team. They have a lot of guys who can score. I mean, don't forget, A.J. Storr led Wisconsin to a Big Ten. Did Wisconsin win the Big Ten last year? I don't think they did, but I'm pretty sure they made the championship game. Um, and he's their fifth leading scorer, only averaging 6 points a game. KJ Adams is a big name for them, and he's only averaging 8 points a game. So I don't know. I think Kansas will be fine. Obviously, they're ranked 12th. I'm not, too concerned. But yeah, that Houston game Saturday is going to be a must-watch game for sure. Purdue moving up 7. Now this is a mix of getting a big win at Oregon. I don't want to, discredit them at all. Um, Part of it also is that you see Kansas moving down, Texas A&M moving down, Oregon moving down, Illinois moving down, Michigan moving down. I mean, UConn. There's a lot of fallers this week. I mean, we said this. 19 of the AP top 25 lost this past week. Now Purdue this week has a home game against Ohio State and a home game against Michigan. Those are two pretty tough games. They're ranked 10th right now in KenPom, 8th in offense, 22nd in defense. The numbers love them. Braden Smith, Trey Kaufman, Wren, Fletcher Lawyer. This team's looking very strong here. I think is Purdue the highest ranked? No, they're actually not the highest ranked Big Ten team. But I think Purdue, even with this being somewhat of a down year for, I mean, do I even call it a down year? They're ranked 11th. I mean, I guess because of how good they were with Zach Edey. But there's a really good chance they still go out and win the Big Ten. The Big Ten is crazy this year. I have no idea who's going to win it. I mean, we knew this coming in. There wasn't going to be, an elite team in the Big Ten, but we knew a lot of teams were going to be good. And you're seeing that. Purdue, Oregon, Illinois, Wisconsin, Michigan. We'll get to the team I have highest ranked in the Big Ten in a second. But, all these teams just neck and neck with each other. Moving in, though, to the top 10, we're going to kick things off with Marquette. Marquette moving down 2. They suffer their third loss of the season. And as of right now, I think Marquette's going to be fine. I think they're going to be fine. They had a rough week. At DePaul, they won by 2 points in overtime. That's not what you want to see when you're playing DePaul. I know DePaul is better this year. Then they lost at home against Xavier. You could argue Xavier needed that win to keep their tournament hopes alive. They're going to need a lot more. They're 12-7 right now. That was a game Marquette should have won. I think they will take care of business this week. I mean, they don't play a tough game till February, where they play UConn and St. John's back to back. So they got a nice little 3-game stretch here to figure things out. With Marquette, they're second in the Big East right now, only behind St. John's. Cam Jones, David Joplin, Stevie Mitchell. This is a good team. I'm not out on Marquette. I mean, I don't want to, they're moving down too, but they did have a pretty tough week. They're ranked 15th in KenPom right now, 24th in offense, 16th in defense. It's actually a little bit lower than I expected. But they had a pretty rough week here in conference play. I think they should be fine though. They just, sometimes you have bad weeks. So Marquette moving down 2. Houston moving up 3. Houston continues to rise because they continue to win. I've been saying this forever. I didn't want to move them up because they hadn't really beaten anyone. Well, now they beat West Virginia by 16 points at home. They did actually almost lose to UCF. I would have maybe jumped them over the team I had ahead of them if it wasn't for that, but I kept them where they were. Michigan, well, I just spoiled it. Here, I'll just reveal. Never mind. I'll get to it. I was gonna say something else. Never mind. Completely scratched what I just said. That's my mistake. Houston at 9. There was a team I've had right ahead of them. I'll just say who it is. Michigan State. I had right ahead of them for a while. Now I did move Michigan State up a little more, but I actually did consider moving Houston all the way up to 7, ahead of the team I have at 8 and 7 right now currently. But I kept them just because that UCF game. They didn't look too great. Now they're going to have a huge opportunity at Kansas on Saturday. That is a huge game right now. LJ Cryer, Emmanuel Sharp, Jawan Roberts is that's a trio right there. That's they're ranked 12th in offense, first in defense. Typical Houston. Feels like they're always first in defense. This is once again a very good Houston team. I had my doubts. I'm pretty much in on Houston right now. They're 14-3. Yes, their non-conference resume wasn't great. They played some good teams, but they lost to most of them. Um, I'm in on Houston as of right now. They're maybe the best team in the Big 12 this year. Um, maybe. Now Iowa State, I still say is better right now. But Houston definitely has a case, and we'll see by the end of the year. Houston's actually first in the Big 12 right now. They're undefeated up to this point. They continue to dominate in the Big 12. I know they did almost just lose to UCF, but besides that game, it's been total domination. Number 8, I'm gonna have Kentucky, moving down one. Now you could argue they should stay where they're at. Um, I mean, I don't know. They played a really good game against A&M. They won by 12 points. Then they lost home against Alabama by 5. Splitting the week there against A&M and Alabama, I'm completely okay with that. Otega Oweh, 15.7 points per game. Lamont Butler's been really good. Jackson Robinson. Um, this is Kentucky's a really good team. Credit to Mark Pope because nobody knew what he was going to do in his first year with Kentucky. They lost their whole team. He had to bring in pretty much a group of transfers, and they have the second-ranked offense in the country right now, only behind the number one team in the country, actually. Now their defense, they could improve. They're 82nd in defense, and that definitely worries me come tournament time what their ceiling can be. But as of right now, I think 8 is fair. Number 7, it's going to be Michigan State moving up 4. Michigan State is 16-2. They just beat Illinois. Michigan State is rolling right now. They only have one game this week at Rutgers. I think they should win pretty easily. They're the only undefeated team in Big Ten play right now at 7-0. This team just does it by committee. This is a deep team. I mean, look at that. This is insane to me. They have, let me make sure I count this right. They have 10 guys who get over 14 minutes a game. That is insane. I mean, they don't. Jaden Akins is their leading scorer at 14 points a game. Besides that, though, you go down the list. I'm not going to say the names, but I'm just going to say the points per game total. 9.2, 9, 8.6, 8.1, 7.9, 7.9, 6.2, 5.7, 4.5. It's a committee. It's crazy what they're doing. Um, they're 21st in offense, 17th in defense. Their defense, in my opinion, is better than the 17th best defense in the country. They have one of the best defenses in the country. They grind out games. The only downside I see from this Michigan State team is they're very deep. Yes, Jaden Akins is their number one, I guess you would say. He's not, a crazy, number one guy to have. That's somewhat of a downside, but I'm not going to count that as a downside. The only downside I see, they don't shoot the three very well, and that could hurt them come tournament time. But if you play to their style, there's not many teams that could beat them. They like to grind out games. Michigan State moving up 4. I'm very high on the Spartans. As of right now, I think they are the best team in the Big Ten. They're 16-2. I mean, come on. Number 6, another 16-2 team. It's going to be Tennessee. They're 22nd in offense, 3rd in defense. With Tennessee, they did lose, but I couldn't move them. I mean, you look what happened behind them. Marquette and Kentucky moved down. Houston and Michigan State moved up a lot of spots. I couldn't, keep moving them up. So yes, Tennessee did lose to Vanderbilt, but they have a very good chance to rebound this week. They play home against Mississippi State tonight, and then at Auburn on Saturday. If they can split this week, I'd feel like they're in a great spot. If they can win both these games, they might be, upwards of top 3, maybe top 2 come next week. Tennessee has a very good opportunity to get everyone, back on this Volunteers train because they were the number one team for what was it, like 8-9 weeks in a row. Tennessee, I still do believe is an elite team, and it's crazy. They are the 4th highest ranked team right now out of the SEC. Ridiculous. I mean, that is insane. They're ranked 6th overall in KenPom as well. Number 5, I have Florida. Florida also at 16-2. They're actually also ranked 5th in KenPom. I didn't do this on purpose, I swear. Um, when looking at Florida, I think this is a very fair ranking. They lost to Missouri this week. They did respond with a dominant win over Texas. But, like I said, I couldn't move them down. I mean, Florida did lose, but the number 3 team lost, the number 4 team lost, Florida lost, the number 6 team lost, number 8 team lost, number 10 team lost, and then Michigan State and Houston. I wasn't going to climb them all the way up here. I mean, you know what I mean? So yes, Florida lost to Missouri, but they kind of lucked out with all these teams around them losing as well. Florida is a very experienced team. Walter Clayton, Elijah Martin, Will Richard, Alex Condon. This is a really good team. You look at Florida; they're 5th in offense, 15th in defense. I mean, that is insane. Yeah, Florida is one of the best teams in the country. I think that goes without saying. Number 4, Alabama. Again, another team that lost. These are, I would argue right now there's a tier. These top 6 teams are in a tier of their own right now, and I think you could argue maybe the top 2 are also in their own tier. But Alabama, man, this week they lost to Ole Miss, but then they responded with a win at Kentucky. That's kind of the story here. A lot of these teams are losing, but they get another big win. Saw that with Kentucky. Florida did that. So Alabama could very well win it all. I think they have the experience to do it. I think they have the talent to do it. Mark Sears is one of the best players in the country. You look at their numbers; they're ranked 4th in offense, 42nd in defense. That defensive rating does worry me. Although I said this last week, I'll say it again. This was kind of the same story with Alabama last year. They were first in offense and like 80th in defense, and they made the Final Four. And they're much better on defense this year. Also more experienced. I think there's certain points where you make exceptions. I think this is one of those times. I know their defensive rating isn't great, but 42nd isn't terrible either. I think Alabama could very well win it all. And like I said, I mean, historically, you have to be top 20 in both offense and defense. But I think Alabama, if there is a team that could break the trend, I think it could be this team. They've only gotten better, and last year they made the Final Four. So take what you want from that. Number 3, I have Iowa State. Obviously, they lost to West Virginia, but Iowa State is one of only 2 teams to be ranked inside the top 10 in both offense and defense. They're ranked 10th in offense, 6th in defense right now, 4th overall in KenPom. Only behind the 2 teams ranked ahead of them, and then Houston. But Houston's always going to be high in the numbers. With Iowa State, they beat Kansas earlier in the week, and then they lost at West Virginia. I said coming into that week, I did expect them to win both, but if they split it, I wouldn't be too mad. I only drop them down one spot. Iowa State is an elite team, obviously. I think that goes without saying. I think they are the best team in the Big 12 right now. Houston and Kansas are kind of hot on their tail, but Curtis Jones, Keyshawn Gilbert, Tamin Lipsey, this team is ridiculously good. I think Iowa State's going to be just fine. They got 5 guys averaging over 10 points a game. Number 2, I have Duke. Duke's moving up one spot. And we have officially... Duke's been rising and rising in KenPom. I've been saying they're closing the gap on Auburn. I feel like I've said that every week. Officially, Duke has overtaken the number 1 spot in KenPom. Now, it is very close with them and Auburn, and that's why I said I think this top 2 is in our own tier. You could argue maybe even 1A, 1B. I wouldn't go so far as to that. I think Auburn is still the number 1. But Duke, not only are they one of only 2 teams to be ranked inside the top 10 in both offense and defense, the other team is Iowa State. Keep in mind, Iowa State's 10th in offense, 6th in defense. Duke is 3rd in offense and 2nd in defense, and they are a good defensive game away from being number 1 in defense. They're only behind Houston, and it is a very close margin. The next closest team is Tennessee, and there's quite a bit of space in between them, at least defensively. Offensively, they are only behind Kentucky and Auburn. Now, Auburn is quite a bit farther, but Kentucky is the second ranked team. Duke is third. They are right there with Kentucky. So they're a good offensive, good defensive game, just good overall around game from being second in the country in offense and first in the country in defense. I wouldn't be surprised if Duke won it all this year. And I've been saying Auburn. Auburn was the team I've picked. Duke might be that team because I don't usually like to pick the number one overall team in March. And I think as of right now, that's Auburn at this point at least. Could change. Duke could go undefeated in ACC play. Now, again, it is very hard to go undefeated in conference play, but with the ACC having a down year and Duke being as elite as it is, I wouldn't be surprised. Duke's 16-2 right now. Their only losses are to Kansas and Kentucky. Uh, by the way, those were both in November. Since then, they beat Arizona. They beat Auburn, by the way. Now, some may wonder why is Duke not ahead of Auburn then? Well, Auburn's 17-1, Duke's 16-2. Auburn's been the number one for the past couple weeks. Duke hasn't done anything to necessarily jump over them. But Duke's team is legit. Cooper Flagg is averaging 19 points a game. Con Kneppel. And I would argue these top two teams have the frontrunners for National Player of the Year. It was Johni Broome. Now that he's injured, Cooper Flagg might get that as a freshman. He's clearly the freshman of the year. Number one is going to be Auburn. And like I said, you could argue Duke. Duke's number one in KenPom, and Duke beat Auburn. Auburn's only loss is to Duke. Now, that was on the road. It was by 6 points, but I'm going to have Auburn at 1. What they've done in SEC play, they've blown out Mississippi State this week. They went at Georgia, and they won. It was a close game. They also blew out Missouri, who is on the rise right now. Now this week, Saturday, they have Tennessee coming to town. That is a huge game. I do expect them to win. I think Auburn is better, and I think at home they have a very good chance. But if Johni Broome's not in, then maybe not. We'll see. I think it's going to be a really good game. We'll see how long Johni Broome is out. That's definitely going to hurt them. How much will it hurt them? Who knows? Tahad Pettifer's playing amazing. Chad Baker-Mazara, I feel like he's been there for a while. But yeah, Tahad Pettiford, he is. He reminds me of Rob Dillingham a lot. This Auburn team has 6 guys averaging over 10 points a game. They're the number one offense in the country right now, 18th in defense. Definitely wouldn't be surprised if Auburn won it all. I think they are the favorite in the SEC, clearly as of right now. Maybe not clearly, but you got Alabama, Florida, Tennessee, Kentucky, 5 of the top 8 teams. That is just insane. Crazy stuff. But with that being said, that is going to do it for the Week 12 Power 40 College Basketball Rankings. Hope you guys enjoyed this one. If you did, make sure you leave a like, subscribe to the channel if you're new. I'm trying to hit 200 by the end of the month, 1,000 by the end of the year. So if you could subscribe, it's free. It takes 2 seconds. Just go down there, subscribe, turn on the noties. We're uploading 4 times a week: college basketball, college football, NFL, NBA, as well as MLB content when that season's starting. And it is coming up, so if any of that interests you, would greatly be appreciated if you could go down there and subscribe. With that being said, hope you guys enjoyed. I will see you guys tomorrow with our national championship game recap. Ohio State won it all. I'm an Ohio State fan. Very excited about that. Can't wait to talk about that. But yeah, that's going to do it. Thank you so much for watching.